What's going on, adventurers? Vulkan here. So after a long setback from being sick, I finally reached level 60. And throughout my leveling experience, I learned a lot of tips and tricks, certain ways to level, and just a handful of things to make life a lot easier. So I figured I'd share some of the things that I'd wish I'd known before I started this whole journey. That way we can make this process a bit smoother and more enjoyable. But before we get into that, I did want to talk to you guys about a cool partnership that includes some really awesome events that I'm going to be doing in the near future that all of you can take part in. So one of the biggest questions that I always get asked is, how can community members group up with me? Well, it's really tough to coordinate and make sure I'm available for each and every person. And because of this, I've partnered up with Partie. So this is an app that helps you find the perfect group to play with, and that's either regular players or other creators. Now, matchmaking in games is usually either a lackluster or a toxic experience, but Partie strives to create a positive atmosphere for anyone who's looking to group up. Now, you can sign up today for free at app.partie.com. Use the link in the description below, and you can use code Vulkan to subscribe to Partie Plus and save $2 off your first 3 months. And I bet you're curious on what Partie Plus is. Well, Partie Plus gives you exclusive access to community events, things like bounties, tournaments, clubs, and favors for $6.99 a month. And I'll be running events in Partie pretty often, so we can either group up, we can go head to head. I'm really excited for all of the possibilities that come with this partnership. So check the link in the description below, use code Vulkan to sign up, and I hope to see you guys out there. Also, keep your eyes locked to both my Twitter and my YouTube posts, because that is where I'll be talking about upcoming events. So I'll see you guys out there. So I really hope to see some of you guys at these cool upcoming events that I'm planning out. I think it's going to be a ton of fun, and I think we'll all really enjoy them. So okay, so let's go ahead and get into the things that I'd wish I'd known ahead of time. So starting with number 1, Repair All does not repair your inventory. You need to manually repair those. So when you die in New World, all of your items that are in your possession, including your inventory, take durability damage. Now this includes items that are bind on equip, and that makes these items unable to be sold on the trading post because they aren't at 100% durability, right? You're not trying to sell somebody a broken piece of gear. Now, I ran into this issue a few times myself, but I also see it from time to time in chat where someone is trying to sell something and it just isn't working. And this is most likely because they took damage or they died with that item. And because Repair All doesn't target your inventory, you have to manually click repair to fix it. Then you can go out and you can sell it. Now, I kind of wish they had a way to quickly repair all of the items in your inventory. Maybe if you hold shift on Repair All, it would do literally everything. But right now, the long way is the only way, unfortunately. So number 2, locking items to avoid salvaging them is the way to go. So do this with all of your luck and your gathering gear. And when it comes to items in New World, I mean, this game is completely lush with gear. You can easily fill your entire inventory weight with weapons and armor within just an hour of portal trains or farming. And most of these things you'll probably want to sell because they don't really fit your particular build. But sometimes you'll find something that's really good and you want to hold on to it. And this is where that item locking mechanism really comes into play. Now, I didn't realize this was here until way later, too late. I'm embarrassed to say how later I discovered this. It just wasn't good. But this whole thing makes life super easy to avoid accidentally salvaging gear and getting rid of things you don't want to get rid of. So you can just hold L, click on the item, and then this small lock icon will appear next to it. I would very highly recommend doing this to all of your build gear, even the stuff that you have put on your character and things you have equipped, but also with any harvesting and luck gear, because you're going to need this later on. So please don't either sell that or salvage it because it's very valuable. You'll need it at level 60. Now, number 3. Okay, so I see this one pretty often. This is almost like the new "where is hemp" question from beta. And that is, you can't socket certain gems on items that have a chain effect. You can only socket the same damage type. So for instance, if you have chain fire, you can only socket a fire gem. Now I see people all of the time, and myself included at first, right, wondering why you can't put a certain gem into an item. And the game doesn't help explain it either, right? It just doesn't work. So you have to kind of figure it out on your own. But ultimately, yeah, so chain items or chain affixes, perks, however you want to kind of describe it, if you have a chain effect on a piece of gear, you can't slot a gem outside of that damage type. So keep that in mind, especially when you're building out your character and understanding that there are certain restrictions that are in place. Number 4, this is a big one, right? So I'm pretty proud of this one. So use the trading post to transfer items without having to pay that horrible storage shed transfer cost. So this one feels really sneaky and I love it. So I'm a big crafter and I love the crafting system in this game, but I'm not a huge fan of the way the storage system works because you have things spread out all over the place. And it's painful, especially when you need to transfer items, because transferring things can cost insane amounts of gold. Like moving a stack of sandpaper from one shed to another is almost a 200 gold fee, which is, it's absolutely bananas. So here's a way you can get around this. Take that stack of sandpaper, list your item on the trading post for a stupid high price, so no one wants to buy it, right? List it for like 100 gold per piece of sandpaper. And then wherever you're going, go to the trading post and cancel that listing for free, and then it places that item directly into your inventory. So you only pay the listing fee, which is literally a couple gold. It's not a ton of currency, which is fantastic. And you can make sure, right, set it to only 1 day to lower the price even more. But I went from paying 200 plus gold to transfer sandpaper to only paying like 5 gold to list it and then cancel the listing. Don't let the game hustle you. Use the systems to your advantage. That is the best way I can describe this. So this one's really cool. I really love this one. It's probably my favorite one on the entire list. Number 5, and that is loot every supply chest you see, because you're gonna need these things later on. It's just the way it goes. And I know, right? New World probably has one of the weakest questing systems that I've ever seen in an MMO. It's not good. I will die on that hill if needed. And one of those quest types you're gonna see from level 1 to 60 is to loot chests, right? And these chests are everywhere at each landmark, and you're going to be just looting these things. So as you level up, I mean, you're going to get burnt out from looting these, and I totally get it. It's one of those things that really kind of grinds my gears when it comes to New World. Is I really wish they would have gotten a little bit more creative, even just a little bit more variety, but that's a completely different video, and we'll dive into the questing structure there. But back to this, right? I know it's going to be grating to try to go and grab every single one of these chests, and you're not going to want to do it because you're going to spend so much time looting these things anyway and blah, blah, blah. But just do it. I mean, even if you don't have the quest, just go loot those things. It's going to make life so much easier for you. I know it's a time sink. It's something that's small and insignificant, or it seems that way. But unless you want to drop thousands of gold towards later levels in leveling and at level 60 at in-game when you're leveling up your trade skills, just do these because you're going to be getting those same materials anyway. So you might as well save yourself the gold and have this big hoard of materials and refining items instead of going and dropping thousands to buy the exact same stuff. Just take the seconds, loot the chest, and keep moving. Number 6, keep all of those tuning orb materials. Don't get rid of these things, guys, because early on, you're going to be getting tuning orbs like crazy from side quests, but that will dry up. And the next thing you know, you have to craft your own to get back into those dungeons. And that's where this tip comes into play. You need to understand, right, what goes into each orb, and then hang on to those materials. Don't sell them, don't salvage them, because you'll just need to either farm them or buy them again later. Now, side note, please level up your stone cutting. You're gonna need this to make higher level orbs. Now, the only caveat to this is if you are really just hard up on gold and you need to get some extra, then go ahead, sell these, because they still do go for a pretty decent price and you can make a nice profit off of them. So let's go ahead and keep this thing moving and right into number 7. And that is to follow the 1-2 rule. Okay, so this one is a big one that I did not adhere to early on, and it cost me a full day of leveling because I had to go back and catch up. So the 1-2 rule: spend 1 hour of leveling up your gathering and your crafting, whether that's going out and actually farming nodes, or it's buying stuff off the trading post and leveling up your actual like crafting trade skills, and then spend 2 hours of town boards and questing. This process will make sure that you keep your town boards updated, which are going to give you high experience missions since it scales with your crafting level. Because as you know, as you level up your trade skills, more difficult and valuable town boards will appear. Things like weird wood planks for 7,300 experience, or layered leather for the same amount, right? So instead of getting coarse leather for 720, you're getting layered leather or rugged leather for 4,000 and 7,000 experience. And being able to get access to these things early on will just blast you through the levels and keep you way ahead of the curve. So make sure to take care of those gathering and refining trade skills, because you absolutely need those. If you just hammer quests and ignore your crafting, you will have a very long and slow leveling process ahead of you, and it will burn you out. So follow the 1-2 rule. It makes things easy and it breaks up the monotony, right? You're not sitting there just staring at town boards for 4 hours, and you're not out there just farming for 4 hours. It keeps things kind of fresh. So let's keep things moving along, and let's go into number 8. Now, this is one I really didn't do until I reached level 45. And once I started following it, it made my life much easier. Don't be so frugal with gold. I mean, feel free to spend some to purchase those town board items. This is going to help smooth out that leveling experience. And also, it's going to save you from pulling your hair out trying to find the resources you need in order to fulfill those town board missions. I mean, for real, right? I had 9,000 gold and I thought I was completely broke. I didn't want to spend any because I figured it would just evaporate super quick and I wouldn't even be able to repair my gear because I would be so poor. And I was completely wrong. I was able to stretch that 9,000 gold out so far and buy all of the materials I needed to level up my trade skills, purchase town board items, and it helped supercharge my leveling process a ton. It was fantastic. And I really underestimated the buying power I had. And like I mentioned, I think I was just stuck in the World of Warcraft economy where 9K was nothing. And if I spent that, then I wouldn't even be able to afford like a flight master. So I needed to really kind of hang on to all of that. And that was the wrong way of thinking. So if you're someone who's really just hoarding that gold and they don't want to spend it, and you just want to kind of, go through the hard way of leveling and doing town boards and finding your own materials, that's a perfectly viable way of doing it. But at the same time, don't be afraid to loosen up that wallet a little bit, spend some gold, and make your life a little bit easier. So number 9, this is another one that I didn't really realize until a little bit later in the game, and that is cooking is an awesome source of experience. You can spend some time just crafting rations and really make some serious leveling progress. And the ingredients are really cheap. So shout out to Heart from Camelot. So Heart from Camelot for this tip. Wouldn't have known it without them. I was running portals back around level 37, and Heart mentioned that they were getting some insane leveling experience from cooking rations. And this was news to me. So I went back to town, and sure enough, I started cooking up the highest level of rations that I could, and I was able to get huge experience gains super quick from this process. Now I'm talking a set of 50 rations, which is like nothing, was giving me 3,000 experience just like boom in the blink of an eye. Now this is all from gaining cooking levels, right? Not the actual craft itself. So there is a hard cap, right? Once you hit 200 cooking, this experience dries up. But I mean, still, this is a solid way to quickly gain some levels if you need to, or to push yourself over the edge and finish out a level. So if you're like, oh man, I'm 5,000 experience away from, level 48, well, go do a little bit of crafting, cooking rather, and boom, cap that thing off and then keep moving on. So we got 2 more here. Let's move into number 10, and that is keeping up with your faction missions to unlock the next tier. So do not get behind your faction missions. You're going to be wasting time and resources since you're going to be capped. And this is just another strong tip, right? Your faction missions can get caught up in the whirlwind of things, and they can get left behind, they get put on the back burner because you're so focused on side quests, main quests, town boards, and you forget that there are restrictions or limitations on how far you can go per faction tier. So I'm not talking about like the little missions you pick up, right? Those are, you know, here and there, but the actual unlock missions for your next upgrade tier, things like Ravager or Destroyer if you're a Marauder. Now, these are incredibly important, and they're going to unlock powerful new gear. They're going to unlock consumables, and if you're making bags, you know, you can get access to new runes of holding to take advantage of, and it's just important to not let these slip. Because if you do, like I said, you're going to be running faction missions, and you're going to get no faction progression, you're not going to get any tokens, and that's just bad practice. Basically, you're doing those just for the experience, and that's honestly not the best way of doing things. So make sure, take some time, get these things done. You'll reap the rewards later on. Okay, so the last one, number 11. This is a simple one, but one that you can easily get swept away in, and that is stick with a few weapons and level them up as you go. Now I know that you're Vulkan, obviously. Stupid last tip. Way to end this video on a super weak tip. And I get that, right? But sometimes it's the foundational things that we forget about because we're so focused on the advanced tips. We're so focused on, you know, what are the little things that we can do right to really make our character or our progression take off. And then we have the big foundational things that slip, or we start to lose sight of those and lose focus on them. And this is one of those things that I think falls into that category because New World has a ton of weapons, and because of that, there are tons of different ways to play the game. And understandably, right, you want to experiment. You want to figure out what you want to do, what role that you want to be. And before we get too deep into this, of course, you can level up everything, right? You can be a master of arms. That is entirely within the scope of New World, but that isn't efficient to do at level 10, right? Because as you level up, your enemies will get stronger, they'll get new skills, they'll be able to break your block easier, they'll be able to do a lot more things. And if you're fighting them with level 5 weapons because you took every single weapon under the sun and tried to level them all up at the same time, you won't be as effective as you could be. So I would strongly recommend settling on the weapons you want to use by the time you're level 20, and then hammering those and only using those weapon types from 20 to 60. Get them leveled up, get access to those higher tier passives, because these are going to help you out later on. They're going to make you better at whatever role you're doing. Could you imagine a tank out there with level 5 sword and shield trying to tank like Dynasty Shipyards? It just wouldn't work well. So being able to settle on those and then go back, you know, at level 60, throw on a level 1 Ice Gauntlet and then go, you know, hammer that out to get those things leveled up. You're gonna level up much quicker when you're level 60, taking care of those bigger and higher tier enemies than you would going out and killing wolves for an hour. So this is just something that I think people do lose sight of. I know I lost sight of it because I was hatchet, great axe, musket, spear, you know, and I had all of these like grand ideas of what I wanted to be. And then by the time I got to level 26, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to settle on hatchet, great axe, and I'm going to run with those. And I'm going to level those things up as much as I possibly can. And then I'll go back and I'll level up my bow. I'll level up my spear. And that has worked out incredibly well. So I just wanted to pass on that little nugget of knowledge to everyone else. So folks, that wraps this one up. These are all of the things that I learned along the way. And I'm excited to finally be able to start grinding end game stuff. I'm excited to finally start to feel better and I can stare at a computer screen for more than 10 minutes without getting a headache. So I hope that everyone has enjoyed the New World content so far. It's been a blast finally getting to play this game without all of the wipes, all of the resets. And I just want to say thank you guys for everything. And I hope to see you guys out at some of those party events that I'm going to be throwing. So remember, check the link in the description below to go sign up. You can use that code Vulkan and save some money if you want to join Partie Plus. But really excited to get out there and start really engaging with you guys in New World, Lost Ark when it's coming up, and I am going to be doing a Kill Squad stream tomorrow. So there's just a lot on the horizon for the channel, and I am so thankful and excited to be a part of it with you guys. So that wraps this one up. Thank you guys for everything. Again, This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.